Modern technology is part of our everyday lives. You are probably using it right now to watch this show. Today we're going to see how technology can help us in our environment and how working with nature can improve all of our lives. Our world has so much to offer. I am Chris Alems in Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to Eco Africa. Cutting out the middleman, farmers in Senegal take to social media. And a whole lot more amazing arts from Nigeria. But what are these vibrant portraits made of? And adapting to the drought, Kenya farmers trade their cows for camels. In the course of our research for Eco Africa, it's heartwarming to meet so many people working hard to solve problems. Some are also building sustainable businesses in the process, such as in Ghana, where a climate innovation center is acting as a kind of incubator for green startups.
Moringa leaves, cassava peel, maize. Uninspiring as they look, these plants and plant waste are being used to grow flourishing businesses. Kilos and kilos of cassava peel is thrown out every day. The root vegetable is a popular food in Ghana. Ethel Amwaku and Ebenezer Ko decided all this vegetable waste was worth rescuing. For the last 10 years, they have run a business specialized in growing oyster mushrooms. The cultivation process uses agricultural waste, some of which would otherwise be burned in the fields.
Growing up in a farming community, I realized most of our farmers don't have alternative ways to dispose of their agricultural waste products. All they do is to burn their farmland, prepare the land for the next farming season. When they do that, it causes respiratory diseases, lung cancer, and even damage to wildlife. And I realized we can actually use agricultural waste to produce something beneficial. Not just only that, it will alleviate poverty, put food on our table, and generate income. That's why I chose this line of business.
And farmer Olivia Che also profits from that business. She grows mainly maize on her 2 hectares. Maize cultivation produces a lot of agricultural residue.
Ever since the mushroom business came to our community, I no longer burn my farmland like I used to. Nowadays, I gather the waste from my farm and sell it to the mushroom company in the village. Apart from paying us for the waste, they sometimes give us the organic compost from the factory after production, so we can use it as fertilizer on the farm and don't need to spray chemicals.
Entrepreneur Kwame Williams started a company that manufactures products from the moringa tree. Its leaves contain important protein and fatty acids, as well as a wide range of vitamins and minerals. A graduate of MIT in the US, William founded his startup 10 years ago, making powders, juices, and creams. But he says entrepreneurs in Ghana face a lot of challenges.
We have had situations where we're trying to get a local certification and we meet all the requirements. Everything has even been done. There's a letter saying it's approved, and it takes 14 months, not an exaggeration, 14 months to get the actual physical certificate.
A lengthy process that means a delay in the products reaching the market. But Kwame Williams built up an extensive network of moringa farmers in the region around Esuboi. Farmers haven't always seen moringa as a profitable plant, but now they work with the company. They have regular customers for their fresh leaves, suited for processing. In the last 10 years, farmers have also planted around 2 million more of these miracle trees from seeds. The harvest is taken from the farms to a factory in Nsawam, 36 kilometers away from Ghana's capital Accra. Here the leaves are dried, processed and packaged also for export.
We believe that what's grown in Ghana should also be processed in Ghana. So we do all the primary processing of our products, seeds into oil right here in Ghana, leaves, fresh leaves into dry leaves and powders and teas right here in Ghana. So that way we're creating jobs. And I'm happy to share that we now employ nearly 90 people across our value chain.
Other sustainable businesses like his also receive support from the Ghana Climate Innovation Center. It offers regular trainings and also capitals for startups.
We provide you with a business advisor that works one-to-one with you and your team members. So the business advisor works with you on certain related activities, right, to bring about operational efficiency, but also to ensure that you minimize your carbon footprint.
Like the mushroom growers, with the support of the Innovation Center, they used exclusively locally sourced materials for their factory. Production is also low emission. Only the composted vegetable waste is needed for the mushroom spores. The mushrooms are ready to harvest after a month.
The demand is very huge. We are not even able to meet just a quarter of that demand that our customers are yearning for every day.
The company sells around 1,000 kilograms of oyster mushrooms a month. The startups welcome this development, and so do the farmers.
So modern technology can really help farmers in the fields, and it can also help with selling their produce. In Senegal, a growing number of farmers are turning to social media to reach out to new customers in the cities. Now, these agri-influencers get to boost their income, connect with other farmers, and have fun too.
Mame shoots his latest clip for his thousands of followers on TikTok. And as his popularity online has grown, so have his sales.
I was just making the videos for fun, and I didn't even know the impact social media was having. But lately I've had a lot of clients, especially from Europe, or even from a distance, see what I'm doing.
Mame is among a new crop of farmers revolutionising Senegal's agricultural sector using social media. It allows him to bypass costly middlemen and negotiate directly with customers, cutting costs and providing that personal touch.
I prefer to make my own videos because you don't have to pay to do it. You do your own marketing, so you get out what's inside you. You get out what you've been working on. So for me, it feels much more natural, and people are much more receptive to it. Even if it doesn't have the quality, even if it doesn't have the image or the sound, people like what's natural. You show what you've really done without editing or doing anything.
Some of these so-called agro-influencers have now set up their own consultancies. Nogaye is one of them. She shares videos and selfies online offering tips on how to grow and harvest crops and manage farming projects.
I started using social networks in September when I set up Ebeno Agro Business. It's about getting more visibility and finding people. In general, the customers I work with I find on social networks. They contact me directly on Instagram, so I give them my number and then I visit their fields. And now I help them with production.
Currently, Senegal's agricultural sector makes up only a small proportion of the country's GDP. But its new government wants to cut imports and achieve food sovereignty in the near future, offering fertile ground for this new generation of tech-savvy farmers to thrive and grow.
Farmers are used to working with nature, but those of us who live in cities often find ourselves far removed from Mother Nature. Many cities don't even have much greenery or trees. That leads to poor air quality, rising temperature, and pushes out wildlife. With more and more people moving to cities around the world, things need to change. But how? We cross to Germany now for some possible ideas.
Concrete everywhere. Grey has replaced green. We're constantly building more, higher, faster. Concrete production is responsible for around 8% of CO2 emissions worldwide. As we're using a dwindling resource, namely sand, and various other fossil resources that we can't use forever, we have to think about how we can build more sustainly. We absolutely need more greenery in our cities because they are overheating. If you think about it, architecture and nature are diametrically opposed. We build primarily to protect ourselves from wildlife or the weather, for example, and that means we're always destroying nature in some way when we build. But what if we were to work with nature in our building rather than against it? An exhibition in Berlin is showcasing projects that seek to do just that. How do trees grow together to form a structure? This question has fascinated architect Ferdinand Ludwig for 20 years. He wants to connect buildings with trees and is constructing a kind of treehouse in the city. You have to work a lot with others as it's interdisciplinary. You work with botanists, forestry scientists, civil engineers, ecologists. We all work together to pool our knowledge from different disciplines so it can be used in the design process. A pilot project in southern Germany shows what a building made of trees could look like. After 12 years, the Plane Tree Cube is over 10 metres high and taller than the neighbouring kindergarten. The children use the shady space inside to play. Otherwise, it's home to insects and birds. The trunks of the young plane trees have branched out and grown together. The architects check their growth regularly. Plane trees were planted on all 6 levels at the same time, each in its own planter box. The idea is that the plane trees outgrow their planters and interconnect with the plane trees further up. They're then screwed together too and gradually grow into one unit. Then they can remove the boxes. They planted more than 1,000 plane trees because, like with many urban trees, some of the seedlings died from disease or frost. In the years to come, the tree tops will grow together to form a roof. A quicker option might be fungus. This igloo hut is made of wood and fungus panels. The surface is soft to the touch, but the panels are robust. So how do you get a hard material from soft fungus? Here, too, nature is the inspiration. The tinder fungus likes to grow on deciduous trees, attaching itself to the wood. Biologist Lisa Stelzer helped work on the fungi house, cultivating tinder fungus in the laboratory. She needs a saw to cut through it on the tree as it's so hard. This fungus is great for building because through the mycelium, the root structure of the fungus that grows underground, residues are brought together and that interlinking creates a more stable material. That makes it ideal for the developers of the fungi house. The collective of scientists, architects and artists grows fungi cultures and mixes them with various other materials, always including organic waste like wood shavings or millet. Then they press the mixture into shape. After a few weeks, they kill off the fungus by heating it. The material then remains solid. It's already used for insulation, but building with it is new. Scientists in Namibia are further ahead. Oyster mushrooms thrive here. Using a similar process, they've used the remains of the mushroom as a composite material, moulding blocks from the mixture. Together with architects, they've used them to build the first house. The hot climate here makes it possible. The team wants to facilitate affordable and environmentally friendly housing. African countries are also ahead on clay construction. Traditional mud homes were largely replaced in cities during the colonial era. Now they're making a comeback, especially in West Africa. In Ghana, large houses are being built with compacted mud walls. They provide a good indoor climate and stay cool. In Mali, the traditional Nubian vault has also been rediscovered. It's built with mud bricks, fitted together with mortar. In Europe, only a few pioneers are working with mud, like Austria's Martin Rauch, who even produces larger projects with rammed earth walls. But mud brick buildings are otherwise rare here. It's a dubious privilege of the Western world that we no longer build with mud. During the industrialisation of construction in the 19th century, mud was replaced mainly by concrete. In other parts of the world, it's still used. Around 40% of the global population live in mud houses today. We've just forgotten how to build this way. How would the visitors here like to live in future? In a fungi house, a mud house, or a house made of trees? I'd actually like a combination of all three. Mud bricks for the load-bearing walls, fungus insulation, and trees on the outside, like the tree house. Instead of big machinery, you can just use plants or build with trees, something very simple and cheaper in the long term. I think we need to be more daring. I think this is the future. We need to work much more with nature and not against it. And nature offers a number of other materials, like seaweed, which could also be suitable for construction. Even if research is still in its infancy, the projects on display show how architecture and housing could protect both the environment and us humans.
We've looked at ideas for new homes, but what about the buildings that already exist? How about greenery on rooftops to improve air quality and reduce urban heat? And that's just the start. We'll stay in Europe for our next report and head to that city of Rotterdam, where experts are exploring the vast potential of rooftops.
Emil van Rinsum loves gardening, and his workplace is this roof of a Rotterdam office building. His commitment to looking after plants and snails up here goes beyond the joys of gardening.
It is becoming increasingly important for cities to store water. More and more water is flowing into the city. Rotterdam floods frequently. Then the cellars, the streets and the tunnels are full. We have to find ways to store water with green, smart roofs.
Like on this office building, the first of its kind. There are tanks under the roof that can store rainwater, guarding the sewers against flooding during heavy rainfall. The roof thus acts as a sponge.
There's a valve here at the outflow. It communicates automatically with a weather server and checks whether there is enough capacity for more rainwater. If not, water is drained off.
Through a piping system on the building's exterior. In the future, the water will be used for the garden or to flush the toilets in the building. But this system is expensive and too heavy for many buildings. So for now, the roof tanks are still the exception.
It isn't yet required to do anything with the roofs of new buildings, but even just on existing buildings, there are around 400 square kilometres of flat roof area, plus the pitched roofs. We could collect water, build insect hotels for biodiversity, or install solar collectors. There's enormous potential that isn't being exploited yet.
More innovations, such as lighter materials, are needed. But Rotterdam's plan is clear: to have more smart roofs and become a sponge city.
We come back to Africa now, and it's often said beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, we're about to meet a man who has learned to see beauty in unusual objects and then make it visible to others, and he does it in stunning fashion. Just take a look at this week's Doing Your Bits.
This is not your everyday cleanup mission. Chibuike Ifedilichiku is collecting discarded cans, and there's no shortage of them littering the streets. He's going to turn them into pieces of art, large-scale images of iconic figures and celebrities.
If we don't reuse these beverage cans, I believe is part of waste. It's going to cover the surface of Earth one day. It might cause harm to aquatic life. It can cause harm to humans.
The artist uses up to 1,000 fragments of cans, depending on the size of the artwork. First, he rinses and disinfects the cans he's collected. Then, he cuts them into strips and weaves them into portraits. Some 50 to 60 million tons of aluminum waste are generated globally every year, and several 100,000 in Nigeria alone. But it's also one of the most recycled materials. Chibuike's art has even attracted attention within the drink industry. This portrait was commissioned by the managing director of Unilever in Ghana, Chris Wolf Caesar. He supports Chibuike's upcycling mission as a way of reducing waste.
Cans need to be disposed of once they are used in the right way. And so please do not just litter the environment with it. Please dispose appropriately.
Chibuike Ifedilichukwu describes himself as an environmental artist and his creative process as a form of solidarity with the suffering of the planet.
It's still part of the journey, the pain our environment would have conceived or taken. I'm taking it to save the environment.
Wow, what a talent. Now, as you are probably aware, weather patterns are changing all over the world and becoming more unpredictable. That's caused largely by our use of fossil fuels. Repeated droughts in northern Kenya have made traditional cattle farming extremely difficult. So farmers are finding new ways of adapting to the changing climate.
In the heart of central Kenya, this sight is becoming increasingly common. Camels wandering across the once cattle-dominated landscapes of Laikipia. For herdsmen like 65-year-old Abdullahi Mohammed, these camels are a lifeline. Before the drought, I earned a herd of 30 cattle. But when the drought hit, all but one of the cattle died, and now I'm only left with one. The 2020 drought was one of the worst Kenya has seen in decades. Across the country, thousands of herders lost their cattle as pastures disappeared, leaving families devastated and without their main source of livelihood. Up to 2.6 million cattle perished. These goats are the only traditional livestock that Abdullahi's family has left. They now mainly herd camels. Rearing cattle is difficult when the pasture is destroyed. Camels are easier to rear. They feed on shrubs and survive in harsher conditions. When the pasture dries out, the cattle die. Laikipia is feeling the impact of drought spreading south. Unpredictable rains are turning its once green pastures into barren land. Neighbouring Samburu faces similar challenges. The ongoing drought means families have to travel long distances to fetch water for themselves and their animals. 26-year-old Piti Musalia has been forced to adapt. The herdsman has also switched from cattle to camels. When the drought came and we owned a herd of 50 cattle, we sold them and bought 5 camels. The camels will help us survive until it rains again. Like many in the region, Musalia has learned that camels, with their ability to survive on less water and feed on tough vegetation, are better suited to the new reality. They can lose 30% of their body weight and survive, and they also have a higher milk yield than cows. But the move from cattle to camel herding is not without challenges.
Cattle, their gestation period is 9 months, but for camels, the gestation period is 11 to 14 months. So to multiply camels, it will require a longer time compared to cattle. It may not be possible to get an economic herd in camels as quickly as possible.
For herders in central Kenya, the connection to their traditional livestock remains strong. Once the rains return, we can sell 2 or 3 camels to purchase a cow that produces milk. But for now, the switch to camels is helping them build resilience for the future.
With the droughts, we have had reduced pastures in the communities, and a way they can do to manage well the pastures is they can do rotational grazing, where they can paddock a few areas for use during drought season, But the challenge with that is that in the communities around, the lands are communally owned.
If the traditional pastoralist way of life is to continue, communities have to find ways to share their resources and find climate-resilient alternatives. Camels can provide them with much-needed stability.
Such amazing animals. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Eco Africa. I hope you've enjoyed our stories as much as I have. If you'd like to see us reporting on any particular environmental issue, then write to us at eco@dw.com. For now, it's goodbye from me, Chris Alems, in Nigeria.